Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. आ गया माहे मुहर्रम, हो अज़ार का एहतमाम। आ गया माहे मुहर्रम, हो अज़ार का एहतमाम।
صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع الوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فاكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما وكلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العظيم. صلوات. فاتحة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني يجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطنيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يطلع له كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فاللهم صل على محمد وآله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عم رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا أخي ووسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومع بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عدهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيعة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أدنى لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله عليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيه مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموما إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. صلوات اللهم صل على
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tonight I'm going to share a poem I wrote about Hazrat Abbas. He has many nicknames, as we know, the flag bearer, Alamdar. One of them that stood out to me was he was once called the Unshakable Mountain. And this is one called the Mountain of Islam. There were mountains once, before they were sand. Massive mountains that across a horizon would span, monuments to the glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These mountains, with majestic peaks that would rise like hands reaching out across the heavens towards the sky, and then lower towards Eden like valleys, where life would be cradled in the arms of these monumental miracles. Valleys. They're what mountains nurture within its arms, protecting fields and trees and gardens and farms where communities flourish free from harm. It is in the valley where families are raised, where there's water to drink and where children can play. They say the valley is the heart of the mountain. But to protect this heart, there is a price. For the arms of this mountain with its peaks so high shield the valley from rain, wind, snow, and ice. It's a burden that it carries so that the valley survives. Where the valley knows peace, the mountain knows strife. The valley only thrives from the mountain's sacrifice. It is the very tears of the mountain that flows through the valley, bringing forth life. There were mountains once, but now there's just sand. For time and sacrifice bears a toll, and those outstretched arms of the mountain are no more. They've been withered to soil. There was a mountain once, before it became sand. There was a brother once, who held a sword in his hand, the mountain of Hussein, the protector of his clan. Hazrat Abbas was Qawwat al-Hussein, so much more than just a man. He was a miracle. And in Medina, his family was threatened with violence and harm. And though he promised his father he'd protect our Imam, this same Imam now comes to him and tells him to stand down. Abbas, I beg you, lay down your arms. In Mecca, despite fear of blood being spilt on holy ground, as the wolves gather, assassins in pilgrims' gowns, and once again, this mountain is told to stand down. Abbas, my lion, lay down your arms. En route to Kufa, when Hurr grabbed Zuljanah's reins, Hazrat Abbas, where did you find the strength to refrain from the anger you felt coursing through your veins? How humbled you were by the words of Imam Hussein. Abbas, my Abbas, lay down your arms. And then there came the most difficult day. When access to water was taken away, you knew that thirst would cause such unbearable pain. Hazrat Abbas, here you unsheath your blade, cause your enemies to flee, trembling and afraid, for the mountain before them was raised by none other than Hazrat Ali. But Abbas, oh Abbas, don't you realize that this is Karbala, a place of sacrifice? Imam Hussein is never going to give you the right to grab your sword and finish every enemy in sight. You're the defender of the family, a mountain of might, and it is your strength that causes Imam to keep you from the fight. For Abbas, this is not the time to wield your sword, but to allow Yazid's forces to grow, to reveal the corruption and expose its source. Martyrdom is the path to change Islam's course. But Abbas, O Alamdar, how you've always stand tall. Your strength in the battle, it's legend to all. You've protected your family within your nurturing arms. Sakina has never felt fear, for her Chacha Abbas was always around. But the time to protect her is not now. How does one ask a mountain to fall? With the soft words of an Imam, Abbas, lay down your arms. I beg you, Abbas, lay down your arms. There once was a mountain, but now there's just sand. And as difficult as it is to restrain your hand, think of Sakina. How is she to understand that her Chacha can't save you now? For Abbas, from your valley, all the children cry, Allah tash, but there's no water for tears to be in their eyes. And yet Sakina, she still speaks of you with so much pride, pleading to the other children that they just don't realize that my Chacha, he's called Ghazi, you just watch him ride. He'll never fail to return to my side. My Chacha is my mountain. With his sword he'll rise and punish those who threaten our lives. Defeat those distorting Islam with their lies. My Chacha will return, just like the sun will always rise. They say the valley is the heart of the mountain, protected within its arms. But there once was a mountain that was asked to fall, to humble itself and sacrifice all, and lay down its arms. Salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Another nice and loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tonight is the third in the Muharram series of Majalis here at Masjid Ali alayhi salam. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالحسين ibn Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Let us recognize the sponsors for tonight's program, who are the following families: Mr. Moustafa and Mrs. Hina Karim, Mr. Murtaza and Mrs. Nazish Versi, Mr. Nisar and Mrs. Sabira Karmali, Dr. Ishrat Pasha, Mr. Ghulam Abbas Kanji and family, and the Murji family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their a'mal in this holy month of Muharram. Let us recite Surah Al-Fatiha for their deceased, their marhumeen, your marhumeen, and for the marhumeen of all mu'mineen and mu'minat. Fatiha. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim.
Salam Allah al-Hasan wal-Hussein. Do you have the Arabic one? Only Arabic. This is...
Mu'mineen, there's also a
just
request for a Surah Al-Fatiha for a marhum who passed away today. Marhum Nasir Hussain, son of Mir Afsar Ali Rizvi in Albany, New York. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannah, inshallah. Please recite Fatiha for this. Bismillah.
Yeah. Do you have a smaller, these smaller versions?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum habibi. Allah yakhallikum. Allah yabarak fikum. Taslamoon. تقبل الله أعمالكم الله يخليكم إن شاء الله.
In these holy nights of Muharram, it is incumbent upon us to remember those who are in need of dua for their health, safety, and protection in all areas of the world. We especially remember those who are commemorating Muharram in areas that are dangerous and difficult to do so. May Allah bless them with protection. Please recite with me verse number 62 of Surah Al-Naml together 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amman yujibul mudtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifus su'. Amman yujibul mudtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifus su'. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, just a few announcements before we proceed with tonight's majlis, inshallah. First and foremost, I do see some new faces here. I've mentioned this for the past few days. Just for the new faces, our program, we start with English at about 6:30 to 6:45, followed by the majlis, matam, then is Salatul Maghribain, and then we continue into our Urdu program. Speak with me or whoever's announcing this week, inshallah. Dr. Azim Hussain, Brother Zain Ahmad, Brother Shahryar Heather. Find any of us and inshallah we can direct you and tell you how to sponsor with us. As you see, or as you've seen, Brother Mohsin, mashallah, has done a fantastic job with poetry before the majlis. It's very, very, it's overwhelming, and the crowd and all of us are a testament to that. This is a platform in this English majlis for you to come forward if you have poetry in English or even other languages, Arabic, Farsi, anything that you wish to share with the community, inshallah we'll be able to accommodate you. Be it for a salam before the majlis, be it for noha. So inshallah even today for the noha, you'll be in for a pleasant surprise, inshallah, for what we have in store. So please, if you have anything you'd like to share, Arabic, Farsi, English, any poetry, any latmiya, noha, let us know, and inshallah we'll accommodate you in this program. Furthermore, mu'mineen, in this month of Muharram, keep in mind that Sayyid was mentioning yesterday that it's, we take ownership of this masjid. This is our community. This is our facility. Definitely consider donating, participate in our Muharram fund, help us with the day-to-day expenses, inshallah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you in this holy month. As we mentioned before, the school enrollment is ongoing. Sadiq School is our full-time Monday through Friday Islamic school. Jafariya School is on Sundays. Visit the websites sadiqschool.com and jafariyaschool.com. You'll have all the information you need. For Jafariya School, yesterday I made an appeal for teachers, and that actually helped very much so because we had a few teachers already sign up with us for next year. That being said, a school is not just teachers and students. As you know, it takes a village. We're looking for many different talents. If you're good in IT, come join the Jafariya School team. We would love to have you and utilize you. If you're great with office administration, even if you just wanted to volunteer, I know we were all students going for college applications, we're looking for volunteer hours, come join the team. We can sign that off for you, no problem. It's a few hours on a Sunday. We're looking for all hands on deck to shape the generation of tomorrow. So definitely find me or any of our staff or visit the table on the outside, and inshallah we can give you further information. Mu'mineen, please mark your calendars for the following community events. There is a Muharram procession Julus in New York. That's going to be August 7th. That flyer will be outside. And the 44th annual Imam Hussein Day is going to take place on August 27th. That's going to be in the Masjid Ali banquet halls, and your presence, inshallah, is kindly requested. That is actually an interfaith or intra-faith event. So those of the school of Ahlul Bayt and those who are not of the school of Ahlul Bayt, we encourage you to come forward and join us. Finally, Mu'mineen, just as a community announcement, as we know, we're familiar with Imamiya Medics. They have dedicated a pavilion as part of their dream housing project in honor of a scholar who we know very well, or who, and may Allah grant him Jannah, Hujjatul Islam Maulana Sayyid Tilmiz Hasnain Rizvi. And so this project is helping, let's say, with subsidized housing, low-income housing. I encourage you, you can speak. Dr. Waji Rizvi, I think, is in the back here. You can find him for more information. We have the information available on our table as well, and we look forward to you participating in that as well. Mu'mineen, finally, as a reminder, as you know, the BA5 variant is out and about for COVID. In New York, we've seen double the cases, double the ICU admissions. So COVID's not going anywhere. I see everyone's, mashallah, wearing their masks. I encourage both brothers and sisters, please keep your masks on, social distancing. COVID is not going anywhere. Alhamdulillah, we have increased vaccinations, which is great, but obviously there are serious repercussions. So for both of our brothers and sisters in the audience, ensure that you're adhering to our COVID protocols. Thank you. At this moment, I'd like to request everybody to first turn off your cell phones or silence them. And as I invite our guest scholar to move forward closer to the mimbar, and with this I'd like to invite our respected guest scholar, Maulana Sayyid Dr. Moustafa al-Qazwini, to recite tonight's majlis with the nice and loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Mustafa, we're going to miss you.
Inshallah, I'll be back Friday.
Inshallah. Habibi, we miss you. We miss you, Habibi. Allah protect you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Habibi. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think it's on. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاصبر على ما يقولون وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل غروبها ومن آناء الليل فسبحه وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. And an increasing number of people nowadays are feeling the sense of loneliness, a very depressing sense of feeling alone, feeling deserted. And this is the suffering of the modern times. Many generations ago, many decades ago, you would never hear about loneliness, depression, anxiety, fear, uncertainty, confusion. These are modern diseases. These are diseases that comes with technology, with the advancement of this life, with the developments in the human societies. A survey says that almost 61% of the American people suffer from loneliness. This is 3 out of 5 people. 3 out of 5 people who are around you, they suffer from loneliness. They say that loneliness can be as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That is the toll that it takes on your health. This is something serious. In fact, in some countries like the UK, I read in the news about 2 or 3 years ago, before pandemic, that the government, because of so many people being isolated in their homes and they feel lonely, they established a new department in the government, a new ministry in the government to deal with this crisis. Many elderly people die in their homes silently. Nobody knows about them. They discover their death after a few days. The neighbors or someone notices that those people are dead. Something happened recently in America, in the heart of Orange County, the most advanced so-called place in America. A family died, and after 1 year and a half, they discovered their death inside their home. 1 year and a half, my friends. This is the heart of America, a heart of a prosperous community, rich community, affluent community. After 1 year and a half, their relatives sitting in Canada, they realized that this family is dead because people are segregated. People are isolated. People are not socially connected. We think we are socially connected, but we are not. We are not. So this is the crisis, and this is the problem. And I am sure, my friends, some of us, we practice religion, we pray, we fast, we go for Hajj and Ziyarah, we are kind to our parents, to our neighbors, to our family members, but yet, somehow, we still suffer from loneliness. And we have to address this. We have to be open about it. The Majalis of Imam Hussein is remedy and healing and dawa and shifa for all sorts of ailments, being mental, psychological, physical. This is the hospital. This is the real hospital of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We are here to empower ourselves, to revive our souls, to learn things positive, things that help us to chart our way in this life. So we must discuss these things. These things are very essential, very important to understand. And let me share some of what I know as a humble person, humble servant of Imam Hussein in this regard. Why people feel lonely? This is number one. And what are the solutions to it? Oftentimes, my friends, we think that the family setting, family connection, having good marital life, having children, that will combat loneliness. People within the institution of marriage, they don't feel lonely because they are surrounded by their family members. And this should be the case, in fact, and this is exactly what God says in this book about marriage. When God speaks about the institution of marriage in His book, He says, I intended to make it a setting where you find psychological, emotional rest. You don't find it elsewhere. You don't find this type of rest and refuge outside your family. Only within the institution of genuine family you will find second. Second means psychological rest. In fact, we read in some of the narrations that when God created Adam alayhi salam, there was a period between his creation and the creation of his wife, Eve. When God created Adam and he came into this life, his first impression was loneliness. He's lonely. He was afraid. He was afraid. He said, God, I am alone in this universe. God said to him, wait. He created Eve for him. As soon as the hadith says, as soon as Adam saw the face of his wife, Eve, he asked God, who's this creature that once I saw her face, I felt peace. I felt happy. I felt joyous. God said to him, this is your partner. This is your lifetime partner. This is your spouse. This is your psychological shelter. This is your zawja. This is your permanent friend and a true friend. This is why God created marriage for us. Not just to enjoy the beautiful food, cuisine, my wife is doing this dish or that dish, or I come back home, the food is ready, the bed is ready. These are secondary. These are secondary. What is really important, the primary goal of marriage, is to help each other and support each other and hold each other's hands at the time of a crisis, at the time of difficulties. We are for each other. And if your marriage is not like that, then you have to seek therapy. Then you have to revisit your marriage. Then you have to speak to someone. Then you must do something to save your marriage. So some people think marriage is the solution. But yet, on the other hand, we find people in a marriage, they are married, but they are still feeling lonely. He has a wife, she has a husband, but they are still lonely. They are physically together, but mentally and emotionally apart from each other. Apart, thousands of miles away from each other. They don't get along. They feel lonely inside the house. Inside the bedroom, they feel lonely. They don't get along together. Because marriage, my friends, as philosophers say, I'm using the philosophers' terminology. Marriage is not illatun tamma. It's not the entire reason for happiness, stability, and sociability. It is illa naqisa. It's part of the solution. It's a partial solution, not the entire solution. So sometimes you are married, but the marriage is dysfunctional. You are married, but you are still alone. You are living and sitting with your spouse in the same room, but you feel you are lonely. You feel you are deserted because you are not on the same page, because you don't share the same aspirations. I always say to the newlywed, I say to the newlywed, you're going to share many things. Some of them are physical, which are not very important. You're going to share the house, the car, the bank account, the food, the money. These are physical things. But what is most important is to share your dreams and your aspirations and your goals and your journey in this life. This is important. This is important. When you share the same path, the same journey, when you try to accomplish the same things together, this is the real marriage. This is the successful marriage. You may not have lots of money, but you are determined to share your dreams, your aspirations, your objectives with your family, with your wife, with your children. When they are working together in harmony, harmonious family, helping each other in the same direction. Same direction. I'm going to tell you soon some of the stories. We will speak about marriage later on. Let me put it on the back burner now and go to the real reason why many people feel lonely. One of the reasons is that the lack of genuine relationship. Friends, in this life, God has created for us two types of essential relationships. One of them is vertical, the second is horizontal. And these two relationships, they complement each other. They integrate each other. They work together. If one of them is dysfunctional, then it is going to reflect on the other one. This is why the hadith says, "Man aslaha fima baynahu wa bayna Allah, aslaha Allahu fima baynahu wa bayna an-nas." These two relationships, one of them is vertical with your Lord, with your God, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the vertical one. The second one, followed by the second one, which is horizontal, with you people, with family members, with your parents, with your brothers and sisters at large in the community. They integrate each other. They help each other. They cannot work by themselves. Both of them, they have to work together. So if your relationship with God is good, if you fix your relationship with God, then God is going to take care of your relationship with the people on earth. But if the relationship with God is broken, is weak, there is no good reception, the relationship is secondary. Whenever I have time, I pray. If I'm busy today, if I'm not in the mood, I don't pray. Whenever I remember, I will say, "Oh God." Sometimes I don't remember Him for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. I don't care. As long as I have food, I have money, I have health, why should I remember God? This is what many people say. This is a broken relationship. Can I kindly ask you to stand and move 2 steps to the pulpit member? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, once this relationship is good, believe me, trust me, this is not an abstract theory. I'm not just throwing theories here. This is something I witnessed in my life, in my personal life, in my daily life. Once my relationship with this entity there, with God, is good, is healthy, is vibrant, I feel myself so connected, so close to the people around me. Not just my family members, not just my friends, even with some of my enemies, I try to have good relationship, not to abuse my enemy, not to abuse those who turn against me. Try to forgive those who abuse you. This is the right relationship. But fix the first one. This is the prime one. Your relationship with God is safe, is good, is genuine, is honest, is regular on a daily basis. You have to have an in-person relationship with God. See, my friends, sometimes you travel to an area and you see different types of people. One type, you just greet them and you shake hands with them, but you may never ask their name or their telephone number. You may not see them again. You may not dine with them again. They are good, you respect them, but they are regular people. You just greet them. Another type, however, you take their name, their telephone number, you invite them for dinner, you tell them, I'm going to see you later, next month, next year. You establish a real relationship with them. Those are real friends. Those are exclusive friends. Our relationship with God has to be exclusive, not generic, exclusive. Exclusive relationship with God. You speak with Him, not just 5 daily prayers. These daily prayers are mandatory. We have to do them anyways. But there is another type of relationship which I'm going to speak about it soon in the upcoming nights, inshallah. And that is personal relationship with God. When you speak with Him informally, when you are driving, going to work, coming back home, when you are by yourself, when you are eating, when you are thinking, when you go to bed, you speak with God in your own language. God does not want you to speak formal Arabic with Him or Shakespearean English with Him. Speak Urdu with God, your local language. Speak Farsi, speak French, speak any language you like, any way you like. One day Musa alayhi salam said, "Oh Lord, teach me the etiquette of reaching out to you. Teach me the way." And by the way, Musa alayhi salam, Kalimullah, the interlocutor of God. He would speak directly with God. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. So he said to him, teach me the way I speak to you. I don't want to do any mistake. Should I scream? Should I whisper? Raise my voice? Lower my voice? Should I be very formal? Should I sit in a certain way? Should I stand? Allah said to him, Musa, you may speak with me anytime, any moment, any condition. He said to him, sometimes I'm answering the call of nature. Can I remember your name? He said, even when you answer the call of nature, you may remember my name. You may call upon me. Any condition. Answering the call of nature, taking shower, laying down. God does not want you to stand before Him, to speak to Him. You may ask me then, why do we have to stand in our formal prayers? This is a type of unity and harmony between the Muslims. A formal prayers. It's like the anthem. The national anthem. When the national anthem is being read, rehearsed, we stand. Some people put their hands there. This is something to bring unity and harmony. But that does not mean God does not listen to you when you are in bed or when you are naked. Whatever. God doesn't care. God created you. He sees you. He sees you at all conditions, at all states. Be genuine when you speak to God. Converse with Him. He loves to hear your voice. He loves to hear your voice. Do not say this is not the right time to speak to Him. Any time is the right time. God is the one, لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. God is never taken by sleep or slumber. In fact, He waits to hear your voice. So when you speak to God, you're going to resist the feeling of loneliness. You're going to feel that there is God. Do you know, my friends, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the most perfect man, we think, we the Muslims, we believe he's the most perfect creature in this entire universe, from the beginning of the universe till the end of it. Prophet Muhammad used to suffer from anxiety and loneliness. He's perfect, supported by God. Sometimes if a friend comes to visit you, he's your cousin, he's someone normal. The Prophet is visited by Jibreel. Jibreel pays a visit to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on regular basis. God says in the Quran, فَلَعَلَّكَ وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ يَضِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ. I know, O Muhammad, O my Prophet, I know sometimes you feel the tightness of your chest. A tightness, يضيق, a tightness in your chest. Your chest is straightened because of what they say against you, because of their verbal attack, emotional attack against you. 13 years he's being attacked, day and night, 24/7, by his community. His community was the first community that rejected him. God says about this book, وَكَذَّبَ بِهِ قَوْمُكَ وَهُوَ الْحَقِّ. The first people who rejected this book were not the Indians or the Chinese or the African, were the Arabs of Mecca, your cousins, people of your blood. وَكَذَّبَ بِهِ قَوْمُكَ, your qawm, your community, your tribe. They rejected it while they know it is true. وَهُوَ الْحَقِّ, out of a prejudice, out of envy, hasad. They said, why God does not send his messengerhood on this man who's rich, he's a celebrity, that man. There were two great men in Mecca and Ta'if. لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. God left all those celebrities, influential, rich, and he went to someone who's orphan, he's penniless, he walks barefoot. He chose him as a messenger. Envy. They understand life through what? Materialism. If you have money, then you are important. If you don't have money, even if you have the best soul and the best brain, you are insignificant. This is the logic of Meccans. This is the logic of Quraysh. This is how the Quraysh was fighting Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. This is how Quraysh was fighting Ali ibn Abi Talib, and this is how Bani Umayyah were fighting Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Based on racism and bias. So this vertical relationship is important. God says, لا تسعني أرضي وسمائي. No universe, no empire state building can contain me or house me. The house of God is so big, so huge. So huge. So where is it? Where is his house? Is it the Kaaba? No, not the Kaaba. Where is his house? وَلَكِنْ يَسَعُنِي قَلْبُ عَبْدِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِ. Your heart is his house. Your heart is God's empire. Your heart is God's residence. Your heart. Do not underestimate your heart. If you only know how to establish a good relationship with him and connect with him. So if this vertical relationship is good, then the horizontal one will be good too. God is going to take care of that. Second time? Last time. Allah. Please, couple of steps to the right and left, please. Couple of steps. Can you stand, please? I mentioned the name of Imam Mahdi and stand. Rahimallah man dhakar al-qa'ima min ali Muhammad. To the right and left, please. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So, the second thing beside God, we need the people around us. We need family members. You have to be socially connected. Psychologists tell you, or psychotherapists, if you want to get rid of loneliness, reduce loneliness, you have to, follow your hobbies, sports, traveling, walk in the nature, meditation, yoga. All these things are good. Your job, your career, serving the community, these are good things. But the most important thing is to have good relationship with your parents, with your mother and with your father, with your family members. The most important thing is to reach out to the community members. In one of my trips at one of the airports in the nation here, I went to the information desk at the airport and I noticed that two couples are sitting there. They are well in their 90s. They could hardly speak, let alone move. Very elderly. And they are volunteering their time. So I spoke with the lady who's very old. I said to her, "Ma'am, what are you? Are you volunteering or you are working here?" She said, "No, I'm volunteering. It's better than staying at home and getting lonely and getting bored. I'm helping people here." See, when you volunteer, spend time, even with strangers, chatting with strangers will reduce loneliness, the feeling of loneliness, because you are connected. Now let's go to the issue of marriage. Why, in a marriage, people feel lonely? Why? And by the way, this type of loneliness, this type of alienation and isolation that someone feels while he's married is worse than any type of loneliness when you are lonely in the marriage. Sometimes a person is a divorcee, sometimes is a single, sometimes does not have a wife, does not have family. It is understood why he's lonely or she's lonely. But when someone has a wife and children, and then yet that person is suffering from loneliness, this is the worst type of suffering. So why people feel lonely in a marriage? I'll mention 2 or 3 reasons, my friends. One of them is too much expectation of the marriage. When you expect everything out of that marriage, when you are codependent on your spouse, you expect your spouse to be your entertainer, your therapist, your breadwinner, your friend, your doctor, your servant, from A to Z. When you are codependent on someone, and that person cannot live up to his or her responsibilities, you feel deserted. You feel alone. You feel neglected. You feel no one is paying attention to you. So do not try to be independent. Yes, marriage is about cooperation. Marriage is about helping each other. But at the end of the day, you have to be independent. This is why I encourage our women in the West. Marriage in the West is different from the marriage in the East. In the East, in a village back home, someone can marry a lady at the age of 13, 14, 15 without education, without money, without any background, and he treats her as a servant. And she is completely dependent on him. She cannot find her way in this life. She cannot walk a few steps without his help, without his control, without his guidance. But here it's different. Here our daughters, we have to encourage them to study. We have to encourage them to get a job. Yes, it is true. The husband is a breadwinner. It's true. It is his moral and religious responsibility to take care of his family, financial care of his family, moral care of his family. But also, it is good for the wife's dignity and honor and independence to generate her own money. If she does not have her own money, no matter how generous her husband is, she is enslaved to him. She is in need to him. And your Imam and my Imam, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, says, once you need a person, any type of need, physical, emotional, mental, you are enslaved to that person. احتج إلى من شئت تكن أسيرة. When you are in need to a person, you become his captive. He controls you. So it's good for women to work, to generate their own money, to feel that this is my money, I can spend it the way I like. Nobody is controlling me. So when you have too much expectation of marriage, that will contribute into the feeling of loneliness. God says, do not depend on anyone except me. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't consider your your spouse to be one-man show. Don't. You have to do your work. You have to have self-value, self-esteem, and self-respect. And try to help yourself. Do not be dependent on anyone in this life. On anyone. Neither on your parents, nor on your spouse, nor your doctor, nor your lawyer, nor a close friend. Put your full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the only one who is not going to let you down. God is the only one who is not going to turn His face away from you. Any of those people might desert you any minute. Any minute. They let you down. They let you down because they are weak. They themselves need help. God says at the time of death, when someone is struggling with death, his family are going to call كلا إذا بلغت التراقي وقيل من راق وظن أنه الفراق والتفت الساق بالساق إلى ربك يومئذ المساق. They're going to call the ambulance, 911, oh doctor, oh surgeon, oh nurse, save his life. But God says the surgeon and the doctor cannot save his own life, let alone your life. He cannot. God says, فَلَوْلَا إِن كُنْتُمْ غَيْرَ مَدِينِينَ تَرْجِعُونَهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If you are not yourself who are trying to save this dead person, if you are not yourself are the most wanted, you would have been able to save him. But the problem, you are also wanted. You're going to die. The person who does not die can save him. But the person who's going to die too cannot save a dying person. Depend on God and also your talent, your potential. I've seen many people, my friends, they were too afraid, too lonely, too anxious. They were depressed. They lacked self-confidence. But they were combating that through themselves, not chemical medication, through themselves. I know some of them, they stayed nights in the desert. They camped alone in the desert. Some of them went and stayed alone in the mountains. This is how they were fighting loneliness. Two stories from my community. A story of a lady who depended on her husband from A to Z. Everything he would do for her. She did not learn language. She did not drive. She did not know her way. From A to Z, everything has to be done by her husband. Unfortunately, her husband died. This lady, her life was completely ruined. She lost her children. She lost her future. She lost her health. When you look at her, she looks 50 years older. She didn't know how to care about her own self, how to feed herself, how to survive. Another story from an Afghan community, Afghan family. Again, the husband died when his wife was young and she had 5 young children. Today, those 5 children after 50 or 60 years are heroes in their communities. She was able to raise them, depending on God. She did not depend on her husband. Her husband is gone. She depended on God and herself. They proposed to her. She didn't remarry. She said, I have an important task. I have children. I have amana, trust. I have to raise them. And she encouraged them. She went after them. She inspired them. She made them heroes. She made them successful. Many of them went to Ivy League universities. Some of those single parents are heroes. Single parents, we have to admire them. We have to respect them. Don't look down at them. There are many single parents in our communities. Some mothers or some fathers. Many of them are mothers. They handled their family very well. They did not lose themselves. They didn't lose their kids. They put their faith in God. And they worked very hard. And they were able to survive despite these difficult circumstances. You have to salute those people. People who are single parents in your community, single mothers with kids. With little kids who are struggling, you have to salute them. You have to thank them. You have to admire them. You have to encourage them. Put your trust in God. You are not alone. We think sometimes we are alone. This feeling of loneliness is from Satan. Satan wants to weaken you, to defeat you. But when you know God is watching. When the Israelites were leaving Egypt, going to Palestine, they were chased by Pharaoh. The community said to their prophet Musa alayhi salam, they said, Pharaoh and his huge army, mighty army are chasing us. What did he say? He said only one sentence. قَالَ كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعِي رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينَ. Don't worry, nay, I don't care about Pharaoh and his army. I have my Lord with me. I have my Lord with me. قَالَ كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعِي رَبِّي. My Lord is with me. He's protecting me. He's guiding me. And I'm going to be victorious. You have to have self-confidence. Teach yourself. Why do we do 5 daily prayers? Why do we have supplications and du'as, my friends? These supplications are important. Don't forget this book. This is your manual. This is your roadmap. Read it in your own language. If you don't understand Arabic, there are translations into different languages. Read this book. This is a source of inspiration. The dua after the salat, take your time. Once you conclude the salat, don't run away. Spend a few more minutes. We have ta'qibatul salat. After every salat, we have a specific du'as, which is specifically intended to empower you, inspire you, give you energy. Try to reflect upon them. One of them is Du'a al-Sabah, the supplication of morning, by Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. So, the other reason why people feel lonely in their marriages is the lack of compatibility in principles and values. Oftentimes, when we intend to get married, we look at the social status of that person. Is she from my class? My tribe, my nation, my culture, my language or not? Does she have the same financial status? Is her father like my father? Okay. Does she have a college degree? Which university? Which school? We look at these: education, wealth, beauty, physical beauty, but we neglect something very important. We neglect principles and values. What keeps marriage strong and healthy forever is when your values are compatible with each other. Your principles are compatible. Do not overlook principles. You have to have a checklist, and you go through that one. Begin at the top of this checklist. Look at akhlaq, look at manners. As I said last night, forgiveness, tolerance, purity of the heart. Look at these first. And then come to the physical ones, the material ones. I'm not saying overlook the material ones. I'm not saying overlook physical beauty. No. But these are the prime and most important criteria. When you look at moral requirements, spiritual requirements. So when they are different and not compatible, then this is how you have the feeling of loneliness. One of them is spiritual, the other is materialistic. I know it happened in my community again. A lady who used to come to Hajj every year, but her husband never have been anywhere except to Las Vegas, alhamdulillah. His Hajj was in Las Vegas. The lady comes to Hajj, the wife comes to Hajj. 1 year said, Sayyid, this year I'm not going to come. I said, why? You've been coming for 10 years. She said, yes. Because now that I'm coming to Hajj every year, I'm becoming more spiritual, closer to God. My husband is not with me on this path. He goes elsewhere. So this is why we have fights every single day at home. We are not compatible anymore. When it comes to religion, we are not compatible. We are growing apart from each other. And I don't want this marriage to end up in divorce. So I have to take a break. You see that? She wants to take a break. So when one of them is spiritual and the other is materialistic, definitely the one who is spiritual is going to feel lonely in that marriage. Lonely. One of them is introverted, the other is extroverted. One of them is social, he loves to be around people, the other does not want to be. One of them puts his family first, the other one puts himself first. Clash of values. These things would contribute. So be careful when it comes to marriage, my friends. Marriage is a long process. Yet last night I spoke about spousal selection. Some people came to me, they said, Sayyid, it's too late. I'm married now. No, it's not too late. You can fix your marriage, believe me. You can fix it after 20 years, after 30 years. If you have the will, if you are sincere, if you have the honesty, if you have the energy, you can fix it. Nothing is too late. Nothing is too late. You can work on it as long as you have the will. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Now some people say, but we are socially connected. I'm very active on social media, but I feel lonely. This is exactly why you feel lonely. Because not any type of connection is healthy. Some of those social relationships with friends are not healthy, and they contribute into your anxiety and loneliness. Because God says in His book, الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو إلا المتقين. Akhilla means intimate friends, close friends. They're going to turn into each other, against each other as enemies, except the pious. Those pious, they don't turn against each other. But if the friendship is not based on the fear of God, on faith, on piety, on righteousness, definitely they're going to turn against each other, and that will make you lonely. When you go with the wrong friends, when you associate yourself with the wrong people, listen, the young generation, you guys, listen to me. When you go with wrong friends, you're going to feel depressed, lonely, deserted. Because those friends are not going to fulfill your dream in this life. Those friends are fake friends. Fake, counterfeit friends. Not genuine friends. They're going to leave you, abandon you at the time that you need them the most. They abandon you. Go with the friends who are genuine. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Jalisu man yazidukum. These are the three criteria in a friend. If you want to associate yourself with a group or a family or individual, consider these three things. Number one, man yazidukum ilman mantiquhu. You learn knowledge from that person. That person is an expert in this field. Knowledge does not mean only religion. It could be engineering. It could be the space. It could be medicine. It could be business. It could be anything else. But he has knowledge. So when you sit next to that person, you thrive, you learn, you benefit. جالسوا من يزيدكم علما منطقه. The second, وتذكركم بالله رؤيته. When you look at his or her face, he reminds you of God. He does not remind you of Satan. He reminds you of God. Because the beauty of God is reflected on his face. And I can see now, right now, some of these beautiful faces where the beauty of God, the mercy of God, the blessings of God is reflected on them. I can see it now here. We don't have to look at the picture of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or Imam Ali or Lady Fatima. We can see their followers. When you are a genuine follower, they are reflected on you. Their beauty are reflected on your faces. So sit with those people. وَتُذَكِّرُكُمْ بِاللَّهِ رُؤْيَتُهُ. The third one, وَيُرَغِّبُكُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ عَمَلُهُ. When you sit with such a person, he is going to inspire you always to work for your akhirah. Not just the dunya, the akhirah. Always. You are not wasting your time with such person. If you find him, grab him, embrace him. But you have to wear your mask now. The second type of wrong association and wrong connection is the connection on social media. Sometimes when we get bored or we feel lonely, where do we go? We go to this, to our smartphone. By the way, there is a book called Outsmart Your Smartphone. Outsmart your smartphone. This is a trap. This is good if it is used for the good purpose. But it is dangerous when you waste your time on it, when you go to social media, when you surf the internet, when you go to help me, Facebook and Instagram and these things. Stay away from them. These are the reasons why you feel lonely. Because you start comparing yourself. You see pictures of others, their vacations, their food, the expensive shoes that they purchased for $300, the perfume, their homes, their clothing, the cappuccino, the ice cream, whatever. And you want to do the same. And if you can't afford, you're going to feel worried. I'm not a good man. I don't have the money. I'm less than them. This is what creates loneliness. Stay away from that. Believe me, my friends. Stay away. If you have an Instagram account, put good things, inspiring things. Don't take any picture. Some of these pictures are private, especially when it comes to ladies, to weddings, to birthdays, to your bedroom, to your house, to your kitchen, to your family, to your kids. These are private. You have to preserve your privacy. You are not for sale. You are not for public display. Preserve your dignity. Preserve your honor. A Muslim family is an honorable family. You enjoy your privacy when you are private with your family. Don't make yourself available. There is no need to show every picture. Some of these pictures are good and inspiring, but many others are not good, are not for public display. Stay away from them. Stay away from them. And this is why social media is one of the reasons. Why? Because you create a life for yourself thinking that this is the real life, while you are depriving yourself from real social connection. Nowadays, kids sit at home with their parents in the same room, physically with the parents, but mentally they are 10,000 miles away, chatting with someone sitting in India. He doesn't speak to his mother who's next to him, but he's worried about his friend in France. This is why we get disconnected from our families. Or sometimes when they have video games 24/7 in their rooms. The mother calls upon them for breakfast, for dinner, for lunch, for tea. They are not out of the room. They are busy with others. That will exacerbate their anxiety and their depression and their loneliness. It will. My friends, many of you come from where I come from, the Middle East. I come from Karbala, Iraq. Some of you from Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Arab countries. 50, 60, 80 years ago, people were happier. Why? Did they have more money? They didn't have more money. Did they have more education? Did they have AC system in their homes? Did they have enough hospitals? Did they have Disneyland? They had none of these things. But they had something called content, qana'ah. They were happy with what they had. They go to the coffee shop, local coffee shop, maqha, local coffee, qahwa khana, okay? I've seen that in Tabriz, your city. They face each other over a cup of tea. Simple conversation, but they are connecting with each other, connecting with another human being, not with a device. This is a fake connection. God says in the Quran, in paradise, in Jannah, nobody is going to get bored. You know why? You know why? It's mentioned in this book. God says, "Ala sururin mutaqabilin." They sit on couches facing each other, chatting with each other, having social relationship with each other. They don't get bored. They don't get bored. We get bored because we use these things. We leave our parents, our friends, we don't visit them, we don't connect with real people, we are trying to connect with artificial people, with celebrities. We wish to take picture with a celebrity. who has a problem with his own life. And some of them, they commit suicide because they are bored themselves. They are worried themselves. Go to the right people. Connect with the right people. One more thing. These majalis are also a source of mental support and mental health. When you come to the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, during these months of Muharram and Safar, you are seeing each other, shaking hands with each other, asking about each other, helping each other, and connecting with each other. So these are one of the ways to fight anxiety, to fight loneliness. I know some people sit at home and follow online, which is good. They can't drive 30, 40 minutes. But when you take the time, the effort to come, to connect personally, it has bigger advantage. Much bigger advantage on your soul, on your mind. It's healthy for you to come and look at the mu'mineen. See people who carry the same cause, the same message, the same faith. You are supporting each other, helping each other, standing with each other. This is how you fight anxiety and loneliness. Keep these mahafil, keep these majalis strong. As Dr. Moustafa mentioned, contribute. Each and every person who comes here has to pay something, has to do something, has to volunteer in any way you can. In any way you can. Even if you can afford $1 bill, Imam Hussein would accept it from you if it comes from your heart. This is your place, sense of belonging to a community. You belong to a strong community. Try to preserve these majalis, support them, encourage people to come. It's worth it. My friends, Wallahi al-Azim, it is worth it to drive 5 hours to go to a majlis. It's worth it. And you will see the credit, inshallah ta'ala. Tonight, we mention one of the companions of Imam Hussein. There are many. But one of them stands distinguished from others. Why? Because in fact, that person, until a few minutes ago, was the enemy of Imam Hussein. He was turning against Imam Hussein. In fact, that person was the one who sentenced Imam Hussein and his family to death. But then, through the speech of Imam Hussein, the maw'idha of Imam Hussein, he allowed himself to listen. Sometimes we don't listen. This is why we are misguided. God says, listen first. Give yourself a chance to listen. He gave himself a chance to listen to Imam Hussein. Once he listened to the speech, it didn't take him much. He was about to begin the combat between the Umayyad army and Imam Hussein's army on the day of Ashura, the morning of Ashura. But once he listened to the speech of Imam Hussein, to his advice, to his admonishment, which penetrated and pierced his heart, he changed 180 degrees. And that is a very decorated general of Umayyad army by the name of Al-Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. Rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. This man was walking on a thin line, he said. On a thin line. He says, I saw myself swinging and swaying between paradise and hellfire. And by God, I would not allow anything to stand before me and paradise. Brave decision. Can we make such a decision? Can we switch 180 degrees? Can we stop sinning tonight and say, I would not let anyone to stop between me and paradise? This is a lesson for us. This is why we remember him. This is why God wanted for Hurr to have an independent shrine and darih and mausoleum just outside Karbala. So when people go to him, they remember his story. His story reverberates in the hearts and minds of people worldwide. This man, as I said last night, intercepted the caravan of Imam Hussein on the second day of Muharram. There was some skirmishes between them, heated discussion. He wanted to arrest Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein said, listen, death is closer to me than standing before Ibn Ziyad in Kufa. You are not going to be able to do that. So when Imam Hussein was about to move, he prevented them. Hurr prevented the caravan of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein said a sentence. It sounds as a curse, but it is not a curse. If you reflect upon it, it's a blessing. It's an admiration. It's an encouragement. It's an inspiration. What did he say to him? He said to him, Ya Hurr, ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ مَاذَا تُرِيد مِنَّا? May your mother be bereft of you. This is a typical expression in the Arabic language. May your mother be bereft of you. What do you want from us? It's not a curse. Why Imam Hussein mentioned his mother? Because he wanted to say to him, your mother is an honorable mother. Remember how she brought you up. But you are standing on the wrong foot. You are standing in the wrong camp. Remember, your mother did not intend that for you. If your mother is here today, she would tell you, Hurr, don't do that. Don't hurt the son of Fatima. Do not hurt him. Leave him alone. And Imam Hussein was able to provoke in him magnanimity and chivalry. So once he heard this, he puts his head down, then he raises his head. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, O Aba Abdullah, by God, if someone mentions my mother, any person, I would not leave him until I mention his mother. But what can I say about your mother, Fatima of our Prophet? Other than words of admiration, words of respect, and words of praise. Ya Aba Abdullah. Suddenly he changed. This was the beginning. This was the beginning of the shift. It happened on the 2nd day of Muharram. But then it was concluded on the 10th day of Muharram. That was the shift that happened in Al-Hurr. Imam Hussein sent him a wake-up call, shook his foundation, shook his conscience. He remembered his origin, his mother, the way his mother brought him. So on the day of Ashura, when the two armies was about to engage in fighting, Hurr started to shake. Hurr started to tremble. His friend says to him, Muhajir ibn Aus, Ya Hurr, ma bik, what happened to you? And if I am asked about the bravest person in the army, I would never bypass you. You are the bravest person. You are shaking? Are you worried of death? He said, no, I am not worried about death. I am worried about Hussein and his family. I see myself standing between paradise on a thin line. أرى نفسي مخيرة بين الجنة والنار ولا أختار على الجنة شيئا. I see myself in the middle between paradise and hellfire, and by God, I would never choose hellfire over paradise. And then he decided to move towards Imam Hussein. He's supposed to lead the Umayyad army to fight Hussein. Now he decides to move slowly. On his way to Imam Hussein, خشعت قلبه وجرت عبرته. His heart was broken. His tears were rolling down. He turned to the sky. He said, Oh Allah, I apologize. I seek forgiveness because I instigated fear in the hearts of the family of Hussein and his children. When he reached Imam Hussein, he introduced himself. Imam Hussein was sitting. He was riding on his horse. He said, Sayyidi. Imam Hussein said, Man ant? He knows him. He knows him very well. Who are you? Introduce yourself. He did not say his name or his military ranks. He did not say, I am General Fulan. He said, Sayyidi, I am your servant. I am the one who prevented you from proceeding to Kufa and forced you to come to this land. And I am very sorry now. I am very remorseful now. فَهَلْ تَرَانِي مِنْ تَوْبَةٍ? Do you think that you can forgive me and God will forgive me? Imam Hussein, without any hesitation, immediately said to him, Na'am, in tubta tab Allahu alayk. If you are sincere and genuine in your tawbah, Allah is going to accept your tawbah and forgive you. Then Imam Hussein invited him. He said, Inzil kun ma'ana. Be with us, sit with us. He said, permit me, give me permission, my master Hussein. Since I was the one who brought you here, let me be the first martyr in your army. Give me permission to go and fight those people. So Imam Hussein gave him permission. He said to him, but I need you. When I call upon you, promise me to come to me. Imam Hussein said, I will come. He went to the army. He advised them. He forewarned them. He reminded them to no avail. And then he penetrated their ranks. He was fighting left and right. They gathered around him. He sustained injuries. When he fell down, the first thing he said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. He greeted Imam Hussein, Adrikni, come to my aid. And we hope, inshallah, at the time of death, when we say the Shahadatain, inshallah, after the Shahadatain, we say, Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. We greet the Prophet, we greet Amir al-Mu'mineen, we greet Imam Hussein, inshallah. Imam Hussein rushed to him. He saw him bleeding. He was about to breathe his last. Imam Hussein puts his cheek on his cheek and he says, Ma akhta'at ummuk, your mother was never wrong. Ma akhta'at ummuka idh sammatka hurra, fa anta hurrun fi dunya wa sa'idun fil akhirah. Your mother was not wrong when she called you free man, hur, because in this life you indeed were a free man. In the akhirah, you are a blessed and fortunate person. And then when the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, Umar gave the order for his cavalry, for his horses to trample upon the bodies of Imam Hussein. The family of Hurr, his tribe, Bani Riyah, they came, they said to Umar ibn Sa'd, by God, if you trample upon the body of Hurr, our leader, we will put the sword into you and eliminate all of you. He said, okay, then you can take Al-Hurr from the battlefield. So his family came, they carried the body of Al-Hurr, they took him to his place now, but only the bodies of Hussein, of Abbas, Ali al-Akbar, Al-Qasim remained in the middle of the battlefield, and the horses were trampling upon them. Lady Zainab came outside, Ya Rasulallah, Salla alayka malaikatu sama. Look at what is happening to the body of your sweetheart Hussein, being cut into pieces, being trampled upon by the horses. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Oh Allah, bestow health and recovery and all those who are bedridden, who are sick. Oh Allah, enlighten our hearts with more love, more commitment for Imam Hussein, for Ahlul Bayt, for Prophet Muhammad, for the Holy Quran, for our faith. Oh Allah, protect this gathering, their families, their children, and enable us to continue, inshallah, the Majalis of this Ashara, these 10th of Muharram, inshallah, with success and happiness and health, inshallah ta'ala. O Allah, bestow mercy on those who were here before and they left us to paradise. Bestow mercy on them, and Fatiha for their soul and the souls of mu'mineen and mu'minat. Ma'as salati ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Hussein. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. The Latmiya that I will read in Arabic is about the Ansar of Imam Hussein, how they inspire us to always fight for freedom. This is the chorus I want you to recite. Just Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. And when I raise my hand, just say Ya Hussein. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Hussein, Hussein, Hussein. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. أنما فتحت العين إلا والحسين أمامي ونطقت أول كلمة باسم الحسين كلامي باسم الحسين كلامي فنموت وهو معي وفي لحمي وفي أعظامي وقصدته أن يكون سيرا على الأقدام سيرا على الأقدام صيرت قلبي مأتما يا حسين والعين خضت بالدماء يا حسين صيرت قلبي مأتما والعين خضت بالدماء حسين 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 بجيوشكم وضروركم خدعتكم الآمال أو ما علمتم في الوغى عند الحسين رجال عند الحسين رجال نزلوا بحومة كربلاء وكأنهم زلزال إني حلفت مؤكدا والله هم أبطال صاحوا إذا ضاق الفضاء يا حسين نفديك يا ابن المرتضى صاحوا إذا ضاق الفضاء نفديك يا ابن المرتضى حسين 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 وتزاحمت في خاطري شخصية شخصية صنعت بكل وجودها للثائرين هوية للثائرين هوية من مثل أنصار الحسين حياتهم ثورية زرعوا الفداء بكربلاء فأثمرت حرية حرية عنوانها حسين لون الدماء ألوانها يا حسين حرية عنوانها لون الدماء ألوانها حسين 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 يا شاربي ندم الحسين في كربلاء كالماء عملاء آل أمية والموت للعملاء والموت للعملاء لستم سوى عار يعيش بهذه الغبراء موتوا حرام أنكم باقون كالأحياء فينا تخط الأحرف يا حسين والثغر منا يهتف يا حسين فينا تخط الأحرف والثغر منا يهتف حسين 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 لله من يوم لله من يوم به أرخى الوجود ظلاما فكأنما في عاشر قامت هناك قيامة، قامت هناك قيامة، لم يرفعوا حجرا ولا قدرا وتلك كرامة، إلا رأوا من تحته بدم الحسين علامة. قد جل ذاك المصرع يا حسين، تهتف أياما تسمع. قد جل ذاك المصرع، تهتف أياما تسمع. حسين 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 حسين. وسألت لكن ما رأيت إلى السؤال جوابا، قتل الحسين ألم يكن في كربلاء إرهابا، في كربلاء إرهابا، فرأيت ذاك على المحاكم خادعا كذابا، ورأيت هذا حاقدا من أصله نصابا، وكلما تم الفدا يخاف من هذا النداء، وكلما تم الفدا يخاف من هذا النداء. حسين 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 حسين. جزاكم الله خير. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Jazakumullah khair, mu'mineen. Please proceed across the hall. Salat al-Maghribain is inshallah going to begin within 5 minutes. You can prepare with wudu, and inshallah we will begin Salat al-Maghribain in 5 minutes.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.